from the crypt.
Hello, boys and ghouls. Welcome to episode 56 of Dads from the Crypt, a Tales from the Crypt podcast. My name is Jason. I'm joined by Jody and Mondo.
Oh,
hi.
At once. I don't know what to do with that.
Hi. I was looking at Jody, hoping we could just get our highs in sync.
Yeah. Sorry. I was so thrown off just now.
I know.
Right,
I wanted to throw you a curveball.
Yeah. Let's try this one more time, Jody, and we'll say hi at the same time. I'll just edit it out. Okay, ready? 1, 2. Hi.
Nope.
You know, getting things to sync on Zoom is almost impossible.
Yeah, I'm leaving. I'm leaving.
I have a video that I still keep on my desktop when some friends there was 12 people tried to sing happy birthday to me at the same time on Zoom, and everyone is off by about a half. It's hilarious.
All right, and tonight we're joined by Rachel and Ariel from the Zombie Grrlz.
Hi.
Oh, damn. I thought we were going to try to sync it up.
Wait, try it again.
All right. Hi.
Yeah,
that was
Yeah.
Nailed it.
We all really have to talk these things out before.
Do a little rehearsal.
I figured I'm going to start this episode off with some chaos just for fun.
Hey, there's a lot of chaos in this episode. We're good.
All right. So there we go. So tell us about Zombie Grrlz.
Yeah, Ariel, tell us about Zombie Grrlz.
In the more deadly, especially.
Sure. Yeah. So Zombie Grrlz is our horror network. We have a bunch of shows on there, including our sort of original show, The Zombie Grrlz. That's 4 of us getting together to talk about horror movies. We have a lot of fun, but it's kind of from a feminist perspective. And then More Deadly, Rachel and I do. More Deadly, Rachel and I do that together, and we focus on horror movies directed by women-identified directors. And we do a lot of research and go into the backgrounds of the directors. Sometimes we interview them, and then we have fun reviewing the movies.
We have a very esteemed guest. Nothing but top
only
of the line.
Only the
finest. We recently had our good friend Jason on the show to talk about Freddy's Dead and had so much fun, even though I think I made you uncomfortable, and then doubled down and then triple down and then quadruple down on it.
I still want to know more about finger blasting. I'm sorry.
That's right, guys. When you come on, we may talk finger blasting.
You never know.
Only if it comes up organically. I don't
Right,
force
of course.
Don't force it.
Don't force the finger blasting,
I mean,
please.
and that's another thing. Yeah, that's a tip.
It makes me feel better. I do try to make Jason uncomfortable at least once a week on our show too. So
Oh, good.
it's part of it. And what's cool for that episode is a Rachel Talale. I'm probably going to butcher her name, but she responded to your guys' podcast and said how much she enjoyed it, and that was really cool.
I flipped
So
out.
that way our research was incorrect. I was like, God damn it.
No, but on one thing, but she's also was flattered how well you guys deep dove into it. And I thought that was really cool. Like, it's so awesome to see the director of the movie you reviewed listen to it and have feedback. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was
It's
really cool. It's
amazing.
only happened a couple times, and it's always a little nerve-wracking, but especially with such a big director like her of such a huge franchise, I was surprised that she responded. It was very cool.
That's so awesome.
I immediately messaged Rachel on Slack, like, oh my God. To which she ignored me for at least 24 hours.
Judging by our group thread, me, Jody, and Jason just assumes that Jody and I are on Slack 24 hours a day at this point. So
it's like the Dads from the Crypt phone. I just pick it up, and they're just like, hello, ring. Also, you had a great interview, and I'm sure I'm going to say her name wrong, with Rebecca McKendry. Yeah, for Glorious, which is an amazing movie. I really liked it. That was a great interview you guys did.
Oh, thank you. We had so much fun with that. She was a great interviewer. Like, we didn't have to try that hard to get great stuff out of her.
It was great. And I mean, if you get to talk to an esteemed director for 20 minutes about glory holes, like, you've peaked. That's it. Pack it up. You're done.
Cosmic horror glory holes. I tried to explain that movie to someone today, and they looked at me like I was insane.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah,
I read about it. I read about it in Fangoria, and I'm just super excited to watch it. So I can't read it or listen to anything about it yet.
Yeah, don't, because I was just a Friday night just flipping through stuff. I'm like, oh, this looks fun. I knew nothing about it. So I'm not going to spoil anything, but when things started happening, I was like, oh, okay, we're going there.
Different.
Yeah. It
is. So yeah, going blind.
Okay.
As you should with the glory hole.
Yeah. So that's our dad advice later will be about how to handle yourself in a glory hole, right?
Yeah.
I would love to hear that.
Glory hole etiquette. All right, moving on. So Ariel, this is your first time on the show. Rachel was with us for Beauty Rest, I believe. And she told us about her experience with Tales to the Crypt. But since this is your first time with us, why don't you tell us your experience with Tales to the Crypt? I think you mentioned a little bit pre-show, but why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, so when I was a little kid, I grew up with my dad reading me Tales from the Crypt comics, and Vault of Horror, Weird Science, all that stuff.
That's father of the year material right there.
And so that was my first experience with it. I didn't get a chance to watch it when it was originally on TV because we didn't have cable back then. But the second that they came out on DVD, my dad gave them to me as a gift, like the whole set of them.
Is he still around?
Yeah.
I want to thank him. I want to shake his hand.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he really was my introduction to horror in so many ways. But so then I watched through all of the seasons back in, I want to say like around 2000 or early 2000s when those came out. And that was my first time, experiencing them, but they're so much fun. I didn't realize quite how much fun I would have with them, because I had heard about it, but I'd never seen an episode before. So it was really great. And there are so many fun episodes. So
do you have any favorites?
Yeah. So ones that have always stuck out in my mind would be the poker game one. I can't remember what that
Cutting
was
cards.
called. Cards.
Love that.
That was mine too.
Oh, that's such a good one. There's also a really kind of goofy one about a ventriloquist dummy. I don't know if you guys have covered that one yet.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I always liked that, especially the sort of practical effects of his kind of appendage twin, in that one. Yeah. And then I have a soft spot for an episode about a monkey's paw. It's a bunch of sisters who like own an antique store together, and they have a monkey's paw they get a hold of and make wishes on it, but it keeps backfiring.
I don't think we've gotten to that one yet.
Okay, I think it might be a later season, but it's a good one.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that's the last season.
Oh, okay. It might be.
Season 7.
All right. Well, that actually brings us to tonight's episode. So we finished episode 4, and then we did the Tales to the Crypt movie. So now we're kicking off season 5, episode 1. One of 3 episodes they released on the same night because I guess that was HBO's deal back in the day. So from October 2nd, 1993, we're talking Death of Some Salesmen. Jody, why don't you give us a plot synopsis?
All right. This is one I like, so I'll have fun with this. All right. We start off with the Crypt Keeper selling on the Home Chopping Network. There. And when the actual episode starts, we open just directly into a sex scene. So we're in season 5 here of Tales from the Crypt, and I figure we're following slasher rules where as things get longer and we've been doing this for a while, you got to keep the audience interested, right? So season 5 is maybe the Friday the 13th part 5, where we start to get a little sleazier because we open on, I think, probably the longest topless scene that we've had in this entire series thus far, as far as I can tell. And that's Ed Begley Jr. and a waitress. Ed Begley Jr. plays a salesman named Judd Crandall, and he is a bastard. And we find that out very quickly because he starts off. He's with this woman, then he ignores her and checks the obituary section for work, and then he starts to walk out on her after promising her that they were going to go off together. And she accuses that, but you said you love me, and he responds, yes, and you dropped your little panties. It's called salesmanship. So this is our introduction to this character. He's a bad guy. He just gets worse. He arrives at a house and speaks to a woman named Mrs. Jones, and asked to speak with her husband. That's the name he found in the obituaries earlier. She says he just died. Well, he goes into a big spiel about how, he had wanted to buy the cemetery plot. He put down $250. There's a $10,000 benefit package attached to it. And she hears that and wants that benefit package. So she scrounges up all the money she has left in the world and gives it to him in cash so that she can get that benefits package. And of course, he just leaves. He's a con artist. He's not even a salesman. He's just a con artist. He goes to another house and starts the same pitch again, trying to talk to a widow, but he's at the wrong address. And Ma Brackett comes to the door. Ma Brackett is played by Tim Curry, and she very much looks like Tim Curry in female makeup. It's something to behold, really. And when she finds out that he is a salesman, she invites him in. And she calls down Pa to hear his pitch. Pa comes in, also played by Tim Curry, but somehow looks less like Tim Curry than the Ma does. Ma looks like Tim Curry.
So confusing.
Pa does not look like Tim Curry at all. I don't know how they managed to pull this off. He is very excited to have a salesman over, claiming that nobody goes door to door anymore. And Judd talks about the special benefit package worth $40,000 for the price of $750 cash on the spot. And they fall for it, but Pa's a little more shrewd than some of these other people. He wants to see the plot first. Judd says, sure, I'll take the paperwork and the money today, and I'll come back tomorrow so you can see the plot. Obviously, never planning on coming back again. So while Pa goes to get the money, Ma goes to get Judd a cup of coffee, and the coffee's a little cold, so Judd goes over to the microwave and finds a bloody severed head inside the microwave. We're just jumping right in this episode, and I love it. Then he turns around, finds a body in the pantry with all these vacuum hoses like running in and out of the body. And so he immediately tries to leave. The front door is locked. Pa hits him with a baseball bat and knocks him out. As he wakes up, Ma and Pa are arguing what to do with him. Ma says Winona needs to look at him first. You can't kill him yet. Winona needs a chance. And Pa says he won't want one. He won't want Winona. But Ma says this might be her only chance. The two dead men that we saw earlier are salesmen who had ripped them off. One sold him a crappy microwave, and there was a microwave. His head was in the microwave. The other sold the bad vacuum. That's the guy tied up in the vacuum. And he says, we bought this color TV and it didn't work. There was no color, but I made it color. And he shows the TV and it's got this dead body just shoved up inside it. Like blood and guts everywhere.
This is Todd Masters just flexing.
Oh, man. Yeah. The effects in this episode across the board, from the Tim Curry makeup to all these dead bodies, is just amazing. Pa almost shoots Judd, but Ma stops him because Winona needs to see him first. Then Winona comes downstairs playing harmonica. We find out she is also played by Tim Curry. And I would never, I'm a nice guy. I would never mock someone for their appearance. I would never call somebody ugly. But the way this is done, it's practically monster makeup that we're talking about here. So Winona is a very disgusting person. Very bad hygiene. She has skin issues. She mentions that she hasn't bathed in a couple weeks, and Begley Jr. talks about her earthy smell. Yeah, and he can apparently smell from across the room. So Winona is just a delight. She is a pleasure to meet. And he tries to use his con man lines to convince her that she's beautiful and that he's in love with her.
For the record, Jody is now canceled. We're just saying.
I'm canceled for calling Tim Curry in this makeup unattractive. I'm sorry. It's just my personal taste. I can't help it.
You know, honestly, I think what that is a compliment to Todd Masters. So.
Oh, absolutely. And if you didn't think she was gross, let me just describe what happens next. She eventually kind of falls for his lines, but she said anyone can talk. It's action that shows whether you really are attracted to me. And so she takes him upstairs and rips off his pants to see if he can get an erection, while she takes off her disgusting dirty panties and climbs on top of him.
Did you say the body doesn't lie?
The body doesn't lie. That's the line. It's like, you can say all you want, but unless this happens, I don't believe you. And somehow, through some like great mental prowess, you can see on his face him trying so hard, he manages to make it happen. And they have about 10 seconds of disgusting sex. And then Judd says it's the best he's ever had. And Winona wants to marry him and run away. She mentions if they do get married, they'll get the roughly $40,000 to $50,000 dowry that's buried in the basement.
In a credit to Ed Begley, for a minute there, I thought he was being sincere when he was all like, "Oh yeah, this is awesome." I was like, "Huh." He's a con man.
So Ma and Pa agree to the marriage with Pa presiding over it. They say I do and exchange rings, but Pa says he doesn't want to take his handcuffs or Ed Begley's handcuffs off because he doesn't trust Salesmen. That's when Winona attacks Pa and starts strangling him. Then she turns on Ma and beats her head on the ground till they're both unconscious. And then she goes and gets the handcuff key and lets Judd free. They go down to the basement to get the dowry, and Judd says, I have a present for you. Pulls out the gun that Pa had earlier and shoots her dead on the spot. So Judd digs up the box. He's down in the basement, probably about to his shoulders, and finds the box and opens it up. No money in there, but there is a death certificate with Judd's name on it. Ma and Pa show up behind him, and while he's down in the hole, then says something to Winona about she needs to get up too. And she stands up, having faked being shot, and talks about how she's going to get the fake blood out of her dress. Judd says, you all lied to me, which is that's just the worst thing to say in this situation. Wait, y'all are liars, you people who have murdered a bunch of people. Judd says they all lied to him. And Pa says, no, it wasn't lying. It's just salesmanship. And then shoots Judd as we go out. Fantastic. Just fantastic all the way around.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jody. All right, Ariel, you're our newest member guest. So what did you think of this episode?
I love this episode. I remembered this one. It had been a lot of years since I had seen it, but I definitely remembered the Tim Curry of it all. He's just so delightful to watch. He's so much fun in this, in 3 different roles. And I think the first time I watched it, I was confused about the dad character because he really doesn't look like Tim Curry. It's so surprising.
Both of the girls look more like Tim Curry.
Right. Yes, they totally do. It's odd the way the makeup is that way, but he also really kind of embodies all 3 characters pretty well. Even the way he talks, the way he moves is different for each one of them, which I think is pretty impressive. And like you were saying, the practical effects in this are so great. The one where the vacuum cleaner hose is like going through the guy's head is really, really good. It's just all of the best parts of like practical makeup from that time period. You know, they look really, really good. And there are so many fun lines in this one too. I mean, it's a color TV, or, you know, her smell is so earthy. It's like, it's all really, really funny. I have to say that the first time I watched this episode, I did watch it with my dad, and the sex scene in the beginning is like slightly uncomfortable, but the one I feel like between Ed Begley Jr. and Tim Curry, it was like the worst and most comfortable thing to sit through next to my dad, just because the camera focuses so much on their faces while it's happening. It's just, it's so uncomfortable.
Settling in.
Yes. So bad. I wish I could be a fly on the wall though when they filmed that scene, because I feel like between those 2 actors, it might have been pretty funny. You know,
I've talked about it before, but I took my daughter to see the director's cut of Midsommar.
Oh, really?
And that was a pretty awkward sex scene in there. And yeah.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even think of that.
That's a movie. If you're gonna take your child to see that, you guys have to sit on opposite ends of the row, right? Or like in different areas in the theater.
Eye contact,
not a whole lot of words were spoken on the car ride home.
Yeah,
I've talked about when I watch these episodes. My daughter's into horror movies too, and she just turned 13.
Oh, nice.
And so as I'm watching episodes, a lot of times I'm like, is this one I want to share with her? And I got about halfway through this. Like, no.
I should state my daughter was like 18 when we watched this together. So she's of age. I wasn't taking like my 9-year-old to go see Midsommar.
Yeah. I saw Species 2 in a movie theater with my mom and my nephew, who was 10.
Oh no.
It was very uncomfortable. There was a lot of Grammy explaining things after the movie.
I was in high school. I took my nephew, who was like 6, 7 years younger than me. I forgot how old he is now. To go see South Park the movie because I was young and stupid. And of all the words he decided to pick up from that movie, it was dildo. Dildo was his favorite word. for like
great word.
3 months.
I'm sure his parents were happy about that.
Yeah, I was 17 or 18, so I got away with it. But it was fun.
Okay, good.
Maybe younger. I don't remember.
Yeah, but anyways, I love this episode. I think the setup is really good because almost immediately you understand who Ed Begley Jr.'s character is. You know, with the scene with the other woman, it's like you get that he's a dirtbag and he's, you know, a slime and stuff. And I think it's also very much a product of its times, where we had kind of gotten over that greed is good 80s stuff, and now we're like critiquing the greedy, you know, assholes in this way.
I do appreciate that it's 6 a.m. and he's already like dressed and showered and like and working. I'm like, okay, he might be a bastard, but at least he's got a work ethic.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with starting work at noon. Okay. Some of us have delayed sleep phase syndrome.
No, I just start work when I wake up. Like, doesn't matter what time. I don't have a set schedule, so I get it. Well, when I say that though, I'm usually wake up at like 5 o'clock because I just can't sleep.
Oh God. Okay.
or Jody's a guy. Yeah. Jody's a guy that'll work from like 4 p.m. to like 4 in the morning.
Yeah, that's more my
schedule.
style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, I did have a question about this episode though. There's that part where she does take off her underwear and there's such a loud sound effect added to it. What did she rip her own underwear, or were they Velcro pull away panties?
Well,
like
she
what was happening
pulled his off. Like she
Yeah.
tore his
those
off.
were his?
Oh, it's his, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought she had reached under her skirt to like get her own ones.
Yeah, I think there was a sound effect with hers too, but it was more of a squishy, gross sound.
Oh God. Okay. Let's move on. Forget I brought it up. I'm so sorry.
No bathing for several weeks kind of situation.
Well, if just
marination.
A quick Google search will tell you there's a market for Velcro underwear. Just saying.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Well.
Oh, there it is.
We're looking for sponsors.
I thought you were going in a different direction with the like market for underwear, so I'm glad we went Velcro.
No, just Velcro underwear. I guess it's better than like shoelace underwear. I don't know. Never mind.
All of this is much more wholesome than I keep thinking you're gonna go. So
we can go.
All right, Rachel, it's your turn. So why don't you tell us what you thought? You were thinking.
Real fact. This is Jason changing the subject before we go down a road that we shouldn't go down.
No, I'm throwing it to Rachel to highlight, illuminate us.
Well, this is the first watch for me. I was like in as soon as you said it was the Tim Curry episode, because like every human with a beating heart, I love Tim Curry, and it did not disappoint. It did not disappoint at all. It was very awkward in points because I guess I had not seen how far HBO went with things, and it opened with the sex scene, which for a second I thought for sure was Ashley Lawrence, and then I was kind of like disappointed when it wasn't.
Oh,
now because if you watch it looks just like her until like she, you know, the next morning.
You know, it really does. I didn't think of that. It really does like Ashley Lawrence. That's cool.
Yeah, and I figured, you know, that makes sense that she would show up in an episode of this. But I watched it twice, and the second time I really appreciated that opening scene for different reasons. There's like a lot of irony in it, and the things that he's saying, like, you know, I said I loved you and you dropped your panties, and you know, you get what you get. And we kind of get a mirror scene of that later when, you know, he says I love you and somebody else has that same reaction, much to everyone's discomfort. Shall we say. And yeah, what I think is really great about this is, you know, Tim Curry really brings a level of craft and skill to this that you're not really expecting from what is really like this super camp, super gross out kind of story. Ariel, you kind of touched on this, like the characters are way more fully realized than you would expect from something like this, and something with such a short runtime. And I think it comes to his physicality and like the way that he moderates his voice. You know, he plays two female characters, but none of them have like female caricature voices. Like he is able to make each of them feel like real women characters to some degree. And I read that he was nominated for, maybe I'm stealing people's trivia. Shit. Never mind. I'll back it up.
You're good.
But I mean,
good.
the reality is, like, he does go in and give this stellar multi-performance, and what I think other people might just go in and kind of like wink and nod and lean into like the absurdity of the way that he's playing with gender, whereas here he's like takes it quite seriously and gives fully fledged performances. It's just really kind of incredible work. Yeah, and I think it's an interesting sort of like they set them up like they're these rubes, and obviously to some degree they are antagonists, right? But I also think that in some ways it shows them more respect than you think, right? Because they're not unintelligent. They're not without moral code. Like the mother actually really wants happiness for her daughter. There's a lot more character here than you would normally see in a story like this. So yeah, I really liked it. I thought it had all the beats of a Tales from the Crypt, the humor, the gross out, the violence, the ironic twist end, all of that kind of stuff. It just like was nailing it on every level. Loved this episode.
All right, Mondo.
Yeah, so everything I'm thinking, you guys just said in a much smarter and more eloquent way than I could ever say again. I think it's interesting with Tim Curry because you bring up Tim Curry, and I think a lot of us grew up on Tim Curry movies, be it Clue, be it, or the million things he's in. But I was watching this, it kind of made me a little bit sad in a way. I was thinking like, man, this guy was like growing up, he always was like kind of that goofy character. We all knew he was great, but man, this episode reminded me just how great he was. Like, God, Tim Curry's a national treasure, and probably didn't get the credit he actually deserves as to how great he was. Because man, he just made this episode, and that's not a knock on Ed Begley. Ed Begley was great in this too, and did his role to an extent. And I really love at the very end when he feels so betrayed while he's standing in his own grave, because they always say the best bad guys are the bad guys that truly believe that what they're doing is just. And that's what he is at the very end. To his death, he believes that he didn't do anything wrong. All he's doing is his job, and these people are wronging him by killing him for being the terrible human being he is, and we're trying to hoodwink them the way he is. So this is man, we start season 5 out great. I don't know if anything else is going to be able to touch us in the season, because God, this is like you said, perfect episode of Tales from the Crypt. You had every little element we wanted. I'd like to think the vacuum cleaner death was kind of an homage to Cannibal Holocaust in a way. Cannibal Holocaust. And the sex scene was weird, and all I could think of was like, is a fear boner a real thing? Like, is that a real thing? Like,
you tell me. I want to know. Can you do that? Can you summon?
How weird are we gonna get here?
Well, I mean, you know that all of the other guys who had been killed, she said that they'd kind of tried the same thing.
Okay.
But they hadn't been able to make it work. So I think there was some extraordinary effort on Ed Begley.
Well, yeah.
I think when you have that, I think when you have that great head of hair, you can do anything.
I mean, because some fear play is a real thing, and it's kind of cool. But I've never had someone hold a gun to my head and actually really threaten to kill me. So it's a weird kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know if it's a thing or not.
Maybe the adrenaline of having your life literally on the line, use the extra push. Who knows?
I don't know. I have terrible anxieties. I'd overthink things, so it would not happen. I would have been dead. But yeah. But in the confines of a consenting adult relationship, we can talk about that off the air. But Jason,
don't kink shame.
Oh, I'm not. I'm pretty open here. I'm not king shaming at all.
Oh, for my first episode, I feel like I'm really getting to know all of you.
I know. I don't totally know if I got an answer to my question. If you can summon a fear boner, but
in the confines of consent, yes.
When two people love each other very much, and they
yes.
do a special
and they
hug.
scare the shit out of each other.
Hug.
When you discussed it in advance and know what your boundaries are and what when you've negotiated in advance, sure, why not? It can be a great thing. But I've never also had someone threaten my life in a real situation, in which case I don't know. But I can leave us at this. I do grappling. I grapple all the time, and I've had people try to murder me because that's what we do for fun. And no, at no point is there anything erotic about it.
Not on your end, at least.
And hopefully on no one's end, because Jason, stop making things weird.
That's my goal for this episode. It's a weird episode. All right, Jody.
Hold on a second.
I thought you're done. Go ahead.
No, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Finish.
Okay. I'm done.
Okay, so yeah, my turn.
Is anybody else sweaty? Or just me? Like, I'm just...
I mean, maybe a little.
Yeah, no, this this is top tier for me. Like, definitely in my top 10 of all episodes. The Tim Curry-ness of it all is fantastic. He somehow, you were talking about all the different characters that he makes. He somehow makes the mom almost sympathetic, even after we know that they've been murdering people and shoving
Yes.
hoses and heads and all this stuff.
Real fast, that was like the best point you brought up, Rachel, when you said like she's actually wholesome. She really, in her heart of hearts, she really wants her daughter to have a great life with a husband. Like it's almost sad.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, it is. And you almost feel like, I mean, not totally, but you almost feel like the murders are kind of justified because they've been scammed so many times from
Sure.
people
Yeah.
who think, like you were saying, they were rubes, you know?
So
Don't you want to murder people who like, victimize old people or exploit
Yes.
old people? You're
Yeah.
kind of like,
Absolutely.
all right,
like
get him.
He
again,
deserved it.
like the only thing Ed Begley could have done that made his character worse if he was calling people up trying to sell them fucking extended car warranties. And then like he's like he was the worst. And in my job, I'm a sales engineer is my job title. My job is basically to go with the salesman to sales gigs and to say, no, you're lying. We can't do that. So we at least have a checks
interesting.
and balances. But I've seen how salespeople will do
Yeah.
anything to get a sale.
Yeah, he's
True.
the fact checker for sales there.
That's pretty much what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so somehow she's the Ma character is almost sympathetic. I can't say Winona's that sympathetic because she really goes to some gross places pretty quick. Once you rip down someone's pants and say make it happen, that's probably not a real sympathetic
But
character.
look at her role
Wait,
models.
can we
though. Look at-
isolate?
That's
Can we
true.
isolate
That's
that
true.
clip of Jody's? Say make it happen. I need that for my ringtone.
Jason, can you just get us all some Velcro underwear at this point? So like when we all
Yeah,
meet,
That's
when we all meet at some
Patreon
point.
money.
Some dads in the Crypt Velcro underwear.
That's our first merch.
I just want underwear with Jason's face on one cheek and Jody's on the other. I'll be happy, guys.
Oh my God, where do I send the
yeah,
check?
make this happen.
I don't know if Stitch,
Bulk
not
order.
Stitch, whatever we have.
Redbubble or whatever we
Redbubble,
use.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dear
But
Redbubble.
yeah, no. So Tim Curry's fantastic in this. Ed Begley Jr. is good in it too. Like he portrays the Tales from the Crypt villain that you can't wait to see something bad happen to. But by the end, it gets so bad that you're almost on his side a little bit by the end. Not really, but I mean,
Well,
everyone's so bad.
you just
Everyone
know-
is so bad.
I think-
Rachel's face, the best. She's like, no, you're really not.
Well, I
It's not
think-
on his side.
I think what I related to at least was just how dire his situation was.
Yes, yeah.
I don't sympathize for him. I just sympathize the fact that there's no
There's no out here.
there's no out here. Yeah, he's screwed no matter what. And
Oh, he
for
was
him
screwed.
as a character, that's fine. But I'm like, yeah, there's
then at
nothing
the
more
same time,
terrifying to
his-
me than being like trapped in the unwinnable situation.
Would you have gotten the fear boner?
What about with all those dolls?
I'm not going to
watching
say it. But I'm
you?
just going to motion.
Yeah, did I mention that her room has a bunch of like dolls chopped up and hanging on the walls? Like that was some great set design. The whole thing is good set design, honestly, because it's somewhere between like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house and just a regular farm. Like it's not quite that bones on the wall, but there's a lot of bodies in this house once you really get looking around. And
I love that comparison though, because it still had that sense of hopelessness. Like you're
and
you're
that-
trapped in the house with this family. It's all in on the same goal.
Well, and I don't know if this episode was set in the South, but it had that kind of Southern Gothic, like nasty sweatiness. Like it felt like summer in Tennessee, like
Do you feel like Glenn Jacobs, mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, may have been like right down the road?
sure.
Okay.
I do like that they dispose of bodies the way that I clean the house when guests are coming over, which is shove shit anywhere. I'm like, put it in the microwave. They probably won't go in there.
It's funny because this is how I know when my child is going to have friends over, because it would be 8 a.m. I hear the vacuum cleaner turn on. I was like, oh yeah, friends must be coming over today.
But
Nice.
I always like it too when killers in movies and TV shows take the time to be elaborate with what they do with their bodies afterwards. You know, like at the last scene of any Friday the 13th movie, when there's like this discovery scene and they open a cabinet and a body swings down and they go over here and something. And I always just like to picture Jason, you know, he's killed somebody and then he's like, okay, where do I put this? I'm going to hang it upside down by its knees so that we got to put the door right here. So when I close it, it will open up and swing it.
You know, he's got to test it to make sure he gets the right angle.
So that's the scene that I always want to see in these movies. I want to see
and get all the
setting
things.
the reveal up.
Like, does he have a frequent buyer card? When he
Yeah.
goes in, it's like, oh, Jason, he needs his meat hooks. Just let him do his thing.
With all those power tools.
They call it the pro desk. He goes to the pro desk and they just have an account for him. He's fine. Puts it on credit.
Put it on my tab.
But you know, all these bodies are posed in ironic ways. You sold us a bad microwave, head in the microwave. You sold us a bad vacuum, impaled by the vacuum. And I just there is a wicked sense of humor in this episode that is just top to bottom. And it's everything I want out of Tales from the Crypt. It's nasty and silly and funny and gross, and it's everything I want. I loved it.
Top tier.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna hop in. So, Jody, you just said it perfectly. This is everything you could ever want from Tales from the Crypt, and I think the writer. So this is written by Gil Adler, the director, who also directed, and our friend Al Katz. And I think they knew what people want and expect from Tales from the Crypt, and I think they perfectly calibrated this episode. So they gave us, you know, a nice nude scene at the very top. Like, okay, we'll get that out of the way. And then usually at the end of the Tales from the Crypt episode is when all the bodies show up, or when there's like the big shock and everything. And they gave it to us halfway through. So they kind of like it's kind of the psycho shower scene or whatever you want to call it, or you know, that big murder in the middle where they kind of, okay, we're going to show you all the bodies right now. So then you don't know where the hell this episode's going to go. And also I remember seeing this episode as a kid, but I think it was on TV, so it's probably very edited, like on like Fox. And you know, the whole Tim Curry thing went over my head because I was a kid and everything. But I do find it interesting that the daughter character comes in a lot later than I was expecting. I've seen this a couple times since then, and she only comes in like partway through the episode. So again, this was directed by Gil Adler, who also directed the What's Cooking episode. So those are like two of the most iconic Tales from the Crypt episodes. Probably like easily top 5 on anyone's list. So like there's no way you can't like not put both of those. And again, it's also Gil Adler did that. He directed the much talked about Bordeaux Blood. He also directed episodes of Charmed and Freddy's Nightmares, and then he became a mega producer like Superman Returns and a bunch of other big Hollywood movies. Tim Curry, my first real association with him is from the adaptation of Annie as
of course.
Interesting.
He played
as the what's his name?
Brewster,
yeah, the guy who like tries to kidnap, who pretends to be Annie's pretend father. So that's like my like first association with him in the weird way. But you know, Rocky Horror is iconic, Legend he's iconic, he's iconic, Clueless he's really fun, Congo he just pops up everywhere. And you know, it's just Congo. I love that movie. The movie's terrible, but I just love it.
Yeah.
Also Bruce Campbell's in Congo.
Yes, he is.
He talks in his books about, I think, about how he stole the shoes that he was wearing because they
really?
said,
Oh, really?
take them, so he just stole them. Yeah.
And actually, I got to
Congo rewatch.
Yeah. And I got to meet Tim Curry at like a recent convention, and just being like in his presence was just like magical.
That's so cool.
It was just amazing. But and we already talked about how great his performance is, and we in one of the recordings that we did with Gil Adler, he talked about how he met with Tim Curry, and he said he wasn't really interested, but he was like, "Oh, let's just have lunch anyways. We won't really have to talk about it, but we can say we had lunch." And they're having lunch. He's like, "Well, okay, fine. Tell me about it. I'm not really that interested, but just tell me about it." So he goes like, "Okay, let me tell you about it." Just kind of like, you know, teased him a little bit, and you know, he said the reason why Tim said he took the role because it scared him. The fact of having to play like switching between these characters and everything. You know, as an actor, that's really intimidating. But again, as an actor of Tim Curry's caliber, you know, once you get over the intimidation, you see the challenge in that, and you want to see whether you can do it. And he, you know, obviously nailed it, as we've talked about plenty. Ed Begley, I think, is really the unsung hero of this episode. Like, I want to see his outtakes because I don't know how the hell he got the straight face through this. Like when they shoot these things very, very quickly on a very tight schedule. And I'm really curious, like, did they add in extra time for ruin takes? Because I don't know how the hell he did these scenes, like literally laying in bed in the afterglow with Tim Curry. Like, how does he say these things, these lines? And
one thing I noticed him too is the beginning with the hotel room. Like, man, modern hotel rooms have not changed very much from the early 90s. It's still the same shit.
Yeah.
But I think so. But for Ed Begley, I think that's kind of his thing, is playing like the one that the crazy character, the wacky character bounces off of. So he was in This Is Spinal Tap, Saint Elsewhere, A Mighty Wind, 6 Feet Under, Veronica Mars, Portlandia, Young Sheldon, Better Call Saul, The Rest of Development. He just plays like more understated character that just kind of like suffers through it almost to the other characters' benefits. And yeah, hats off to him for giving a great performance.
He was definitely a major character in Better Call Saul, and it's kind of cool to see someone like Ed Begley Jr., who you don't hear about much anymore, get that iconic role that I think people are going to talk about for a while, because he was pretty fantastic in that.
And then I also want to touch on the Mrs. Jones character. It's only in one scene, but she's played by Yvonne de Carlo.
Oh,
Lily
Munster.
Lily Munster.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
This is like a year. This came out in 93. She passed away in 95. So this is one of her last bigger roles. Since she's in acting since 1941. She was like a friend of Cecil de LaMille. She was in the Ten Commandments. She's also in Jodie. You'll have to tell me if this is any good. She actually was in the American Gothic slasher movie.
Oh, that's one that has been on my. I remember it in the video store.
Yes.
Ma and Pa standing there with like bloody pitchfork and like a big machete or something like that. I haven't seen it, but I remember it in the video store.
Me too. Now that you say that,
I totally remember that from the video stores. I'm like, now I want to watch it. See if it's ever
it sounds
good.
It sounds like a watching chat for us. So
absolutely. I need to watch this one.
She was also in Satan's Cheerleaders. Another watching chat possibility.
So
that one I think I've actually seen.
I believe it.
I know. When Jason says that today, I'm like, I've definitely seen this before.
Yeah.
The disco soundtrack.
So what do you think the odds are that Sherry Moon Zombie is going to be a better Lily Munster than her?
Negative.
I'm gonna go
Counterpoint, just to be an asshole.
Just for fun, I'm getting everyone that for Christmas.
For the record, if I was actually casting a movie, I'd cast my wife too. So no, I have no issue.
No shame.
No,
I'm not doing that. Like I don't want her in the movies, but I'm also like, I get it. I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
I still say that meme with Rob Zombie's Jaws and Sherry Moon Zombie as the shark is the funniest damn thing.
That's a good one.
Well,
it
way off
never
topic,
fails.
but I will say I thought she was great in House of 1,000 Corpses. I really do. I thought she was a fantastic character in that, but she was a character in that, not a main character that had to carry the movie.
But yeah,
I will go in for her in Lords of Salem. I love that movie.
She was
probably one of his
You know what? I watched it a second time. So the first time I didn't like it. And I liked it more the second time. I just don't love how at the very end it turns into a Rob Zombie music video.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah, I like the story. I'm into the story. Then I'm like, oh, and now it's a music video. I'm like, damn it! Like, I liked where the story was going, and I kind of actually enjoy the first probably two acts of that movie. I thought.
There's like one little sequence in there where all of a sudden she's like riding a goat. That's kind of like, oh no, Dracula, get out of here. But the beginning and like the witches that live nearby, all that stuff is so great.
Yeah,
and I do love the tentacle Antichrist at the end.
Yes, that was cool. I have it. This is gonna. I'm the only person who's gonna care about this. But Rob Zombie they play like on the metal radio. They play a black metal band. They call like Silencer the Leviathan. And then Rob Zombie's like, yeah, I don't listen to black metal at all, but this is what I came up with. And I was like, oh, but you referenced two other black metal bands, and your band sounds just like those two bands combined. Just give those bands credit.
Anyway, but shout out to Yvonne.
Maybe the one guy in Sweden that listens to our podcast might like that too.
There we go. But yeah, Yvonne de Carlo. That was just I just love when they can give iconic actors or actresses like just a little bit of role, just to give them some love.
Well, and I read somewhere that she was practically retired by the time this episode came out. and she kind of stepped back in to do
That's
this
cool.
role because
That's really
it
neat.
sounded
Yeah.
fun.
Well, and not to talk about Rob Zombie more, one thing that's really great about Rob Zombie is him getting these older horror actors and actresses work, and like they're great in those roles, and get those people a payday. Like, why not? A lot of them are way better than they were ever given credit for.
I mean, even someone like Sid Haig, like I didn't know him because I hadn't watched as much of the exploitation stuff, but some of the stuff he's in from like the 60s is fantastic, and he's the best part of it.
Well, I mean, Devil's Reject, he carries that movie. He really does, because he's so wacky. And we met him out here when he signed my wife's artwork, and just like the nicest guy.
Oh, that's so cool.
And you know, what was sad is you could tell his health wasn't great at that time. And his wife had posted on Instagram how he's doing fine. Then he died like 6 months after that.
Yeah.
But he and Bill Moseley, the nicest fucking people. Just we're having a great time signing autographs for people. So good on Sid Haig. It was really cool to meet him.
Yeah, I'll definitely give props to Zombie for that. That's definitely
Well, the thing with Rob Zombie is, he loves the genre. He truly does love it, and that's why it's so hard sometimes for me to criticize his movies. I know, like, it's all a love letter to what he grew up with and what he loves. So it's hard for me to criticize it, but like, we'll see how the monsters.
Well, allow me to step in. No.
Hey,
so, Mon, does that mean you're actually going to watch the Monsters movie?
Oh, 100%. I'm going to watch it. I know I'm going to hate it, but I'm going to watch it because it's the Monsters. I love the Monsters growing up. But
the 3-hour cut.
You know, we keep bringing up Rob Zombie for this episode for some reason, and the more I think about it, though, I'm like, there's definitely some connective thread here, like that weird, gross Southern Gothic. Like, if there was more swearing in this episode, and like the dialogue was just bad, then I could definitely see this being a Rob Zombie ish production.
Well, in our last episode, we had a question. Someone brought up the question, like, what directors would you want to see do a new Tales from the Crypt? And I would like to see what Rob Zombie would do with 22
25 minutes. Yeah, where he doesn't ramble and go on for too long. Like, I think if we had a tight like 25, he might be able to pull something really cool off.
Half of it will be Freebird, but you know.
Sure.
Hey, that was the best part.
I love that. I unapologetically love that ending. But I would like to see Rob Zombie direct a movie that he didn't write.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
let somebody else handle everything else, and you just, because visually, I think he's got some really great ideas of how he shoots things. But then Devil's
Story's not.
Yeah, I loved it the first time I saw it in the theater in 2006 when it came out, and I was 20, whatever, 23 at the time. But now I look at that, I'm like, God, you made the horrible antagonist the hero somehow, and it's really problematic. And the dialogue is terrible, and I'm like, fuck, like, but he has this vision for how he shoots things. I think is really great. So let somebody else write the movie, and then you just direct it.
Back to the episode, though. Yeah. Back to the episode, though. Yeah, I mean, we've already praised this one to death, basically. You know, there's nothing. This is iconic episode. Great performance all around. Great writing. Great directing. The great score by Michael Kamen.
Michael Kamen also did Event Horizon, which has gotten a lot of publicity lately because it's anniversary. Again, that was a movie that was amazing that I didn't discover until like 2 years ago.
Oh, really? No, I remember that came out as a big thing. And
as a huge fan of Sam Neill, I was super bummed that I didn't respect.
Yeah, it's a great Sam Neill.
He also did Nothing But Trouble. I'll do that, Jason. But that movie always
the John
haunts us.
Candy movie?
No, Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd, right.
I think you're thinking of Delirious.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I just want to. I know we've praised the hell out of Tim Curry, and he deserves it 100%. But can we just like give him a little bit love for that last line? Nobody delivers a line like Curry. That like salesmanship. Jeff's kiss. So good. So good.
But
he's just so much fun.
Also, one more thing, again, to the cinematography of this episode, to just really selling the illusion that there's like 3 different characters all being played by the same person, and just like having like body doubles
each other and everything else too. Like they are in physical altercations.
Yeah, the directing and the directing and the staging is just impeccable. Like, if someone didn't know, like, just didn't know who Tim Curry was, or like missed the opening credits or whatever, they didn't know, like, it could totally pass.
It was weird to watch this and Orphan First Kill in the same week.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Jody, give us a comic comparison.
All right, so this one came from The Haunt of Fear, number 15, October 1952. Script by Bill Gaines and Al Feldstein. Again, the kind of big guys at EC. Art by Jack Davis, who is one of the best of all of the EC artists. Really big into Mad Magazine. He did a ton of stuff by that point. It takes the same basic structure, but they added a lot for this episode. But it's still a really fun comic. It made me smile. A salesman named Stuart Thatcher, who seems to be an honest salesman. He's not doing all the shady stuff that Ed Begley's doing. He gets his car stuck on a rainy road and ends up at a farmhouse owned by Eben and Henrietta. I can see why they dropped those names and went for Ma and Pa. But Eben and Henrietta. And Stuart notices that they have a lot of nice appliances, and they mention that they bought them all from traveling salesmen who have come through. This is in the 50s. Traveling salesmen were a lot more common at the time. But the refrigerator was the first thing they bought, and it didn't work. And they were really disappointed. They got ripped off by this traveling salesman who sold them a refrigerator. And so now anything they buy, they test out first on the salesman who sold it to them. And so they pull a shotgun on Stuart and they lead him around and they show him the body that was frozen in the freezer from the guy who sold him the freezer. The roasted corpse in the oven. They tested it out and there's a burned up man in the oven. Man hanging upside down in the grandfather clock instead of the pendulum. It's his body swinging back and forth.
That was cool.
Awesome.
I like that visual.
Yeah. Okay, this is my favorite one. They do the vacuum thing. The man has been turned into a human vacuum cleaner bag. They have him hanging upside down with his feet over the handle and the hose going into his mouth. So when they suck up stuff, it goes into this man's body. It's amazing. This is the EC artist just having a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
Turned to a vacuum cleaner bag with a hose in his mouth. There's a charred face in the TV. And then in the dryer downstairs, there's a body that's all blistered up from running through a dryer cycle. And after all this, they take him down into the cellar and they ask, so, Mr. Salesman, what are you selling? It's like, oh, honestly, like it's in the car and I don't really want to sell it to you. I don't think you'll really like it. Let's not do that. But Eben goes to the car while Henrietta holds a shotgun on him and he gets the product that Stuart is selling. Mother Jackson's little housewife helper, the handy dandy meat slicer that he carries downstairs.
Oh, no.
As Stuart has a big gulp at the end. Just fantastic Tales from the Crypt stuff. It's gory. There's bodies all over the place. It's got this ridiculous ending of knowing this man's about to be chopped to pieces with meat slicer. Such a fun, like when Tales from the Crypt really decided to go for it, they made some really crazy stuff. And that's what they did with this. And then the episode just took that concept and ran with it and then added in a little Winona to keep it interesting. But yeah, no, great comic. Not the same story completely, kind of the same concept. But I love them both. Even after watching this episode, as I read that comic, as they were showing this tour of everyone they killed in ironic ways, I'm just grinning. And then they just got more and more ridiculous. The vacuum cleaner. The man turned into a vacuum cleaner bag. Amazing.
Yeah, that's such a great comic. All right, let's move to our episode ranking. We do 0 to 5, 0 being the worst, 5 being the best. You can do half points. Ariel, why don't you start us off?
I would say 4.5. I love this one. I think it's fantastic.
All right, Rachel.
I mean, I don't know what else it could do to get to a 5. It's a 5. You won, Ariel.
All right, Jody.
Easy 5. There's no question on this one. 5 all the way around.
Mondo.
I think if someone asked you, like, what is the someone who's never watched Tales from the Crypt, so what episode should I watch first? I think this would be a good answer.
That's a good point.
Encompasses
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely.
So I'll give it 5 out of 5 fear boners.
That's gonna be our little catchphrase for this episode. Yeah,
for
I'm going
this
5. I
episode,
mean, this is
sure.
just everything. Again, as Joy, this is everything you could ever want from a Tales of the Crypt episode. It's got, sex, violence, sleaze, twists, humor, big
Makeup.
performances, great effects. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what more would you want? So
Yeah. All right. Peer pressure. I'm giving it a 5.
No,
too.
no.
4.5. I truly think if when you watch an episode, if your brain doesn't say 5 right away, then it's not a 5.
Well, sometimes it's retrospect, but yeah. So yeah, if you haven't seen too many Tales in the Crypt episodes recently, then you don't have a whole lot to judge it against. But that's just
I'm just thinking, everyone keeps telling us, oh yeah, you're getting into the later seasons. There's going to be this drop off. We're in season 5 right now. It's freaking awesome. Like, this is one of the best episodes of the whole series. Like, I have not yet seen the drop off that everyone keeps telling me is coming, and I keep seeing good stuff out of every season. So, man, it's still fun. This has not gotten tiresome watching all these episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I assume it's still coming, but yeah, it's still going strong. Alrighty, let's go to and I don't know exactly what form it's going to be in, but we will be having, we should be having something from our good friend Al Katz. It should be something that is going to be a separate from this episode, so be on the lookout for that. All right, Armando, give us our song of the day.
Jarmondo.
Jarmondo.
That'd be me and Jody's celebrity couple. We'd be my celebrity couple.
Jarmondo.
Oh my god, I ship it.
Hold on. Modi sounds better though, right? Is that better?
No.
Okay.
I like the Ja.
I tried. No, Jarmondo is you and Jason, and Modi is so
there you
we
go.
can have multiple ships.
He used my
Why do we have
Christian
to
name.
choose?
He used my Christian name, which was Armando, but I go by Mondo to most people that work associates. Work associates cannot call me by my nickname. Anyhow, song I picked today is by a rap group from the early 90s called the Gravediggers. If no one has heard of them, please go out right now and search out their first record from 1995, 6 Feet Deep. But they were kind of skirting that line of being really horror influenced in the early days. And the frontman of this was RZA from Wu-Tang Clan. But he did not go by RZA in the Gravediggers. He was the Resurrector. Along with other members, Prince Paul was by the Undertaker, Fruquan, the Gatekeeper, and Too Poetic, who passed away I think back in 2001, went by the Grim Reaper. But the song I'll go by off their first record, 6 Feet Deep, is the title track, 6 Feet Deep, which that is one of my favorite hip hop records ever come out. And they did some albums after that. I think they did I think it was something called the Hell EP and like songs in A minor. But that first album, I remember discovering it, and there's an old magazine back when I was in middle school called Flux, if anyone remembers this. And they reviewed this along with Amorphous's Tales from a Thousand Lakes, and I went out and bought both records and fell in love with both. So Gravediggers is one of the just, if people always talk about Wu-Tang, how great Wu-Tang was, and how I think Gravediggers is better. And that first record, 6 Feet Deep, the whole thing's phenomenal. So go seek it out. 6 Feet Deep, off the record, 6 Feet Deep, by the band The Gravediggers, which fits in because the man dug his own grave.
Well, and the Gravediggers is one of those bands that seems like it might be gimmicky, right? Because they're the horrorcore rappers. But the people who they had involved with this, Prince Paul did like De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising. Like, he is a master of hip hop in the early 90s, late 80s.
It's kind of crazy that people that are in hip hop nowadays don't know this band being with the iconic other bands these guys did, because it's kind of a super group. The second record they did, and God, I think it was called like The Axe and the Shovel, was way more politically charged, more like Public Enemy kind of going in that vein, a little bit less horror themed, but still fantastic. But that first record though, as a 11-year-old buying that album at Sam Goody record store in the Meadows Mall in Las Vegas, scared the shit out of me, and I loved it.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right, thank you, Mondo. Jody, give us some trivia.
All right, short and sweet this time. We have all been praising Tim Curry, but this was not originally offered to Tim Curry, at least according to IMDb. Okay, I don't research these things. Okay, I look up IMDb trivia. I do a little Googling. If I'm wrong, I'm sure Al can correct me. But originally, this role of Ma and Pa and Winona was offered to Eddie Murphy. And he had done the the multiple character thing before in Coming to America. This was well before the Clumps. But I kind of, the idea of like a nasty Southern Gothic Clumps, okay, I could kind of see that. That'd be a more interesting take on it than the take we eventually got. More Grandma Clump than all the other Clumps, I guess. But yeah, that would have been a completely different experience. But I guess they were just looking for somebody who could do multiple roles, and I'm glad we got Tim Curry. But I want to see this other version that exists in some alternate universe, just to see what he did with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been a lot more comedic, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
But this was like
Tim Curry was like pathos.
It was more subtly funny. Also, one thing I forgot, he does this like slurping noise.
Yes.
That's like so unsettling for someone. I think it's the Ma and the daughter both have it. Or they just have like too much like saliva like pooling somewhere, and
yeah, the Winona character does that a lot. The way that she breathes and sucks into her mouth, it's gross.
Yeah. It's real gross.
I can see like I just imagine Tim Curry is like looking in the mirror just practicing that.
Jason, can you demonstrate that for us right now?
No.
Okay.
Not biologically possible. All right, and that
show off for your guests. Show off for company.
Come on, Jason, do it. Jason.
I just don't have a gag reflex. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Okay.
That was worth it to see Mondo's face.
All right. Jarmondo takes the lead in my show.
Follow-up questions. Jason, A, how'd you figure that out? B, we're seeing each other in September. And what are you doing that night?
I'm lying. I do have a gag reflex. Wah wah.
Well, how'd you find that out?
The questions remain.
So many questions this episode.
So Jason scratched his head and stroked his beard, which means he's not going to answer that question.
No. How does one find the limits of their gag reflex in the normal course of life? Who knows?
Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Do you brush your tongue when you brush your teeth?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Not that deep. I don't deep throat my toothbrush if that's what you're asking.
Then how do you know?
Maybe it's a Vegas thing. I don't know.
All I'm saying, Jason, is like you made some statements here and you have no factual evidence to back them up.
No, I don't.
It's fine.
You'll never know. You'll never know. It's just going to be like myth.
Cut to Jason in like an hour tonight. He's about to go brush the back of his tongue. I guarantee you. I guarantee you.
Honey, I need you to help me with something here.
I imagine Jason in the mirror, just brush his teeth and just thinking about this moment for an uncomfortable amount of time.
Yep. As soon as he hits that dangly thing in the back of his throat.
Okay. This is actually a good transition to dad advice. My son.
What kind of dad advice?
Yeah, what are we doing for dad advice?
No, my son every night for the last couple of weeks has asked me to brush my teeth with him.
I would suggest not doing any of this.
No. Next time, my 8-year-old innocently looks me in the eye and says, "Daddy, will you brush your teeth with me?" I'm going to think of Mondo asking me to deep throat my toothbrush.
Yeah, don't reply. You want me to you want to see me make a toothbrush disappear? Don't do that.
I'm dying.
All right.
I think we should all end the episode and go to church.
My face hurts, guys.
Yeah.
Stop.
All right. We did put out a call for some dad advice because it's back to school season. My kids go back tomorrow, and they were all big bunch of nerves, and excitement. Yada yada yada. My kids are going to a new school, so we'll see what happens. But we did get some good responses from our faithful listeners. So Mondo, why don't you illuminate us?
We got 2 responses, and I don't know how the hell we transitioned from that to this.
I find a way.
I almost don't even feel comfortable.
Life will find a way.
I almost don't even feel comfortable reading this, but okay. It's from our
no one make eye contact with Mondo.
It's from our well, I mean Jason's already read. I'm just read because these fucking lights are weird. But from our friend Palmer Lynch 7 on Twitter. Jason asked, question of the week, what are your back to school tips? Just the tips. If you are back already, how did it go? And Palmer Lynch responded with, my favorite tip has always been lay everything out the night before. Clothes, bags, lunches, even breakfast. Do a spot check before bed. In the morning, everyone knows where everything is.
Smart.
That's
Good.
good
Yeah.
advice.
Real
That
good.
makes sense to me.
That is news you
Yeah.
can use.
That has gotten me by many early mornings. Like if we're leaving to go on vacation or something like that, where we have to wake up early, everything gets laid out the night before. Every kid outfit is sitting in its own little pile. So when they wake up in the morning, all groggy and half awake, they can find their crap and get together without having to function. Because I don't function. This is speaking as somebody who is not a morning person at all. I need my handheld to get through a morning on a normal day. And so if there's something big happening or getting ready to go to school or work or something like that, that has got to be planned when my brain's working the night before.
I know some people who have their kids wear their next day outfits to bed.
What?
Oh.
That's weird. It's all sweaty and
And it's all
gross.
sweaty if they
Yeah,
have
that's
if they
it.
have a potty accident, but some people do it.
That seems
I
like too
remember
far.
When I was a kid, like when we'd have like a ski trip or something, my brother would be like, put on your clothes, because he didn't want to have to deal with me in the morning. And it was totally cool and not sweaty.
To wear a whole ski outfit? No.
That's great.
Dude, again, my kid's almost 20, so I'm just like, just do whatever you want to do. Like, just don't wake me up. I'm a happy guy. So I have no back to school tips except for just, I don't know. Just have a good morning. Have a nice morning. Don't yell at each other. Like, just everyone's always grumpy in the mornings, right? Like people always just grumpy in the morning.
Especially when you got a time limit.
Yeah,
Everyone's all stressed out.
just be chill. It's cool as shit. Jody, you don't wake up before like noon, so it's fine.
But when I do have to, okay.
Is it physically possible, Jody?
No,
I can.
Jody just
I can make
spawned
it
like
happen.
a message one time at like 9 a.m. my time, or sorry, like 6 a.m. my time. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Is Jody?
I know. It's
okay?
like, Jody, okay?
Is his family okay? Like,
Is this a call for help?
That was probably when I was, in Austria or something on another time zone. That's the only way I function in the morning, is being on a completely different time zone. But yeah, mornings are bad, and hard. This is speaking for me. Some people wake up and they
is it harder than a fear boner, or is it less hard than a fear boner?
Mornings are hard. Just say that. Some people just spring up out of bed and they're ready to go, and they
like
can
a fear
have their
boner.
day going.
Like a fear boner.
Yeah. But if you are not a morning person or you have trouble in the morning, prepping the night before is 100% the key. That's the only way I survive if I ever have to get up early for whatever reason.
Imagine having to get up early, Jody, but something crazy happened and now you're scared, and now you've woken up and you have to react to the situation, and you also have a boner. Like, fucking weird, right? Like
that'd be a rough morning. Yeah. Be hard.
It would be hard.
Lots of ways.
It would be.
It would be.
Rachel and Ariel, I apologize. I didn't expect us to have this much boner talk.
I would be disappointed if there were not.
You talk about finger blasting, we talk about boners. It's just to balance out things.
Jason,
Yeah,
you could just
We're even now.
take it down a notch, Jason. That'd be great.
Wanda's trying to
There
run
are
a
ladies
podcast
present,
here.
Jason.
Wanda was
Like,
trying to run a
We
podcast.
Sorry,
try to do this every week,
I-
and Jason just shoves us off the rails with this.
Mhm.
So,
It's my
We have-
podcast boner.
oh my god. Oh. I'm having a great fucking great time. This is amazing. Hey, my chihuahua just walked into the room because she's trust me, she's weird. She just thinks I might have food, so she just ran away. She walked in, smelled the air, realized there's no food in here, and fucking ran away. She's 14 and a half. Oh, she'll be celebrating her quinceañera.
Oh, that's
We're
so
gonna
cute.
buy our dogs cute little dress. I have a senior citizen like animal house here, where my youngest animal is a teenager. So we're having a quinceañera party in December for all the animals.
I'm gonna need pictures of that.
My wife is picking out dresses on Amazon.
Amazing. That's so cute.
And our cat Smokey, the only other male in the house, he'll have a bow tie. Anyhow, we have one more
classy affair.
Exactly. We try to we keep it classy here on Dads from the Crypt.
Yeah.
If you made it this far, God bless you. One more. We have one more response from our good friends at Tales from the Podcast, and it is shop early so you can actually get everything. He goes, my kids are pretty young. Luckily, we went early and had everything ready way ahead of time.
Nice.
Do teachers still ask for like weird shit, like 8 boxes of Kleenex?
Yeah, they send a list of stuff.
Yeah. Which I'm okay with because teachers don't.
They're
get
not
paid
getting
enough.
paid, and they have to pay for everything out of their pocket if they don't. So
I'm 100% okay with. So if I have any back to school advice, it's whatever's on that list. Fucking, if you can afford it, and not everyone can, so I'm not shaming that can't, but if you can, buy everything and be good to your local teachers. If you have teacher friends and they have like an Amazon wish list, buy them things off it and help them out, because we do not have enough respect for teachers in this country, and it kind of sucks.
Bring your teacher a Starbucks card. It'll make her day easier. Or a bottle of wine if she has a rough class. If your kid is the reason it's going to be a rough class, definitely bring the bottle of wine.
Then it's whiskey.
Then it's whiskey. Apple brandy. We did have an email. I forgot to mention this one. That said, don't bring your favorite comic books, toys, or games to class, and don't take crap from bullies.
Is this Norm Macdonald from Dirty Work? That's exactly what he says, I think.
Is that really? Okay.
No.
I was like, this
just don't take crap from anybody.
Yeah, this guy went through something as a kid, and I feel for him.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't want it for your kids. If they're like, I want to take this thing, it's my favorite thing, I want to have it with me. Discourage that, because they could get it taken away, and that's always heartbreaking. So yeah, you don't want to bring stuff to school that's going to get taken by a teacher or by somebody else.
Yeah, at the very very least, just say you can bring it, but just leave it in your backpack.
In your bag, yeah.
Yeah, so at least it's nearby. If it's like a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Jason, were you always like the tallest kid in all of your classes growing up?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so were you like taking other kids' lunch monies?
Fuck no.
Okay, good.
No, I got bullied, just not as often as other kids. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Sure.
No, me too. So I get it. We were funny. We're all nerds, and somehow we all had some bullies growing up. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
I definitely think, my taller stature probably saved me from a lot, but I still, I got my first share of shit.
Okay.
Nerd's gonna nerd.
I just feel like you'd have stolen my Tales and Pickup comic, and we'd have to have words after that, but it's fine.
No. Ariel, Rachel, do you have any embarrassing or productive school advice you want to give to our listeners?
Oh my God, go to class. Like, going to Jesse Otto's house to do beer bongs instead of go to class sounds more fun. But then you have to go to community college, and community college sucks.
Go fast. Is Jesse Otto a real person that could be listening to the
podcast? Yes.
Can we tag them?
Go to class. Yeah,
Rachel,
sure.
Rachel says go to Jesse's Auto to do beer bongs.
Yeah, Keystone Ice is not worth having to go to community college. Even at a rapid pace.
Man, I feel a headache just for you saying that.
That's like, where you test
I'm gonna
out
have a hangover just from this discussion.
A beer bong is where you test out your gag reflex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I wonder if I could still do a beer bong at my advanced age. I think I'm gonna find out.
Jason, in September, we're doing beer bongs. We're gonna test that gag reflex.
Oh God.
Oh my God. I'm coming. Can I come?
Hell yeah.
Hey, if you're in the Pasadena, Los Angeles area, fuck yeah. Let's make it happen.
I might be. I have a photo shoot down there in September. Wouldn't that be wild?
Photo shoots?
Not of me. I'm no. But
No, you totally can.
Yeah,
that's not the thing I would expect you to say.
I'm
Yeah.
a supportive husband. My wife is gonna go see Rammstein. I cannot stand Rammstein, so I'm gonna drop her off at the arena, and then we're gonna go have sausages and beer. So it's
Oh, that
One
sounds
big
great.
sausage
Awesome.
fest.
Nice.
Well, then I guess I'm not coming.
All right. All right,
I'm
so
saying is-
I'm out of the ship now. I think we're pretty clear on where the ship's going at this point.
well, Jody, we'll be at Chattanooga Film Festival, but to be fair, no one ever questioned your gag reflex. It was totally fine. Jason had to make that statement. and
Jason
now we're
brought it
questioning
up.
his.
He brought it up.
Exactly.
We're gonna need an update after tonight's toothbrushing. I'm just gonna say.
No,
Just
I'm
hit me
saying, I mean,
in the Slack.
I'm just gonna post an image on Instagram on our account with a ruler and just how much.
We could just do like we could have a photo, right? You could have, I don't know, I guess a ruler, and then like
Just-
you should do like an emoji, like I don't know, like a peach if you do, and then like an eggplant if you don't.
The
And
vomiting
no one will
emoji?
know unless they listen to this episode.
or the vomiting emoji.
Yes,
And it-
vomit
Another-
emoji
if
or,
you need-
or eggplant.
Here's another reason to sign up for our Patreon.
I've had the
Man.
best time tonight. I'm just saying.
Ah,
Us
this is really fun.
too. I'm
Also,
speaking
for anybody
you.
out
Me
there,
too.
Spirit Halloween is open in a lot of places, and you guys should visit. There's cool things.
Oh, and I have to do a little promo here because Lowe's has never been a place I've thought about getting Halloween decorations. They have so much cool decorations at Lowe's this year. Life-size Freddy Krueger, life-size Jason Voorhees, life-size Michael Myers that like you push a button and they move and stab and play music.
Okay.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
This is going to be a special thing just for our people who watch on YouTube. Jody, can we see your Jason lights?
Yeah, hang on a second. Let me adjust my camera here just a second. Move it
Yeah,
up enough.
I'm 100% buying the life-size Freddy because I didn't think it was gonna be that cool. But I watched the Lowe's and press the button and it sings the 1-2 Freddy's Coming for You song. I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
buying this.
fantastic.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so I have my Jason lights across the top of my room here, and
Oh.
it's got a big old box that you have to push a little button on to activate it. I didn't want that big box on my wall, so instead, I have my Friday the 13th Part 5 with the glowy-eyed Jason mask
Oh my God, look at this life hack.
right on his eye here.
So
I put it
dope.
in my
That's
VHS
so
box.
cool.
It's fantastic. I love it.
My favorite part about the whole scene was how happy Jody was.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it so
man.
much. I really do. So
You
I'm
know,
gonna-
it's like 2 a.m. I may have had a gummy or two, and I'm like, what do I do with this box? My creative brain just took over and said, yes,
so at the end of
this
September,
is what I
I'm gonna-
need.
I'm gonna buy that life-size Freddy, and we're gonna see if Freddy or Jason has a better gag reflex.
Good plan.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode.
My goal is just to see if I get Jason just to wrap things up. Like,
Yeah.
How quickly I can at
Just
that
end
point.
the episode. There's no redeeming it. Just end the
one
episode.
day we're
move
gonna have
on.
like one day we're gonna have like a 90-minute episode.
It's just gonna be it's the encore that will not end. Rachel and Ariel, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you?
Oh, thank you so much for having us. So we're Zombie Grrlz. It's spelled Grrlz, and you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. All of our shows are on that network. And we are ZG Podcasts with an S at the end on Twitter and Instagram. So follow us there too.
Okay. Any did you have your live event already? Or is that happening?
Well, we recently had our midsummer episode, which was a ton of fun. We pushed some people off the Stupa. We did a little midsummer trivia. Yeah, it was really fun. We have, and then next up, like our next live event is going to be for Halloween, and we may be putting together a little bit of a group costume that we're pretty excited about.
Very cool.
Including Ariel, who is dressing up this time and not leaving me hanging like the one weird person that comes to the office wearing a costume and nobody else is wearing one.
I'm sorry.
She's dressing up this time.
all I can think of is the Office episode or Pam dressed up as Charlie Chaplin.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
My bad.
All
But yeah,
right.
we'll have to have you guys on some more. We've had Jason on. We'd love to have you guys on and keep this friendship growing, blossoming, leveling up. Maybe one day we'll get a couple name. I'm just saying. like zombie girls. No, it's not.
Rachel.
I'm gonna workshop that. I'll workshop that a little bit.
We'll workshop that. Yeah. we'll do
Yeah.
it.
All right. Well, next week we will be reviewing As Ye Sow. We appreciate everyone for listening. We'd really appreciate it if you would give us a rating or review on iTunes or rating on Spotify. Check out our Patreon for bonus content. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Adios to everyone except Glenn Jacobs and Kevin Sorbo. You guys both suck. Ugh.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.